This is Marie from Creations Photography and Design, and we've been talking the last few videos about how to dress up our photos and take them one step farther to perhaps make them more arty, perhaps to make them nicer for scrapbooking. And here's an idea that I've seen used effectively several times. Now I've just scanned these 3 ViewMaster reels and the envelope they were in on my scanner, and I've done a little bit of cleanup, and I'll show you what I've done here. I didn't like that free with view or not for resale, so I took that away. And now I've got pictures of the front side of a ViewMaster with all the associated writing and copyright and that kind of stuff. And I did the same thing. As long as I hit them downstairs and in the scanner, I flipped them over and scanned the back side, which means if I want something without any text on it, I can use one of these back sides if I want. Now there is a small difference. If you look closely, and let me zoom in here, you can see the edges of the little films that were put in, the little Kodachrome slides that were put in here. You can see where they were glued together, whereas you can't see that. Oops, wrong one. Whereas you can't see that if we zoom in on the front. You can't see that. So this side is apparently the cardboard is a little thicker. Cardboard on the front, paper on the back. Who knows? But anyways, it gives us, with 3 reels and 1 envelope, 6 different reels that we can use, and 2 envelopes if we like. But they're not going to do us a lot of good all by themselves. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and separate them from their background. And I'm going to do this on a separate layer just because I'm afraid now that I've had this, I need something to stop back with, and I am editing destructively today, so I'm going to jump this comp layer to a new layer, Command or Control J. Now I'm going to go to my Magic Wand tool, and it's under the Quick Selection tool, and I'm going to say, oh gosh, I'm going to say contiguous for the heck of it, and I'm just going to tap here in this let's try this again. I'm going to tap in the white area, and it'll pick up everything that's white. Now I want to zoom in on this and see what we're looking at. Not bad, not perfect. I think, however, I can get by with this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select inverse. So now it's not the white that's selected, it is the actual objects that are selected. And now as I zoom in, and I'm tapping the Z key, holding it down while I move from the upper left to the lower right to zoom in, and holding the Z key while you go from the lower left to the upper right makes it smaller. Alright, this one looks pretty good, but it got a shadow here that I don't want. So now I'm going to switch over here to my Quick Selection tool, and because I'm zoomed in and because I'm working with fine details, I tap the left bracket key to make the brush smaller, and I'm going to hold down my Option key, and you notice how that changes to a minus from a plus, and I'm along this shadow going to run my minus key and try and get rid of it. Well, I went a little bit far on that one, so I'll select this back. I could undo it, but sometimes it's just as easy to run this down. And I missed a little bit right here, so I'll smooth it out. Now the nice thing about this, and I'm going to tap Control or Command plus to get in a little closer. The nice thing about the magic wand is that it will remember you've made these changes and keep modifying and keep modifying. Now you notice I've gotten rid of the shadow over here, and I've also on this one gotten rid of that same shadow. So Photoshop is calculating all the time what's good, what isn't, as I make these changes and tell it, well, I need this one to come in just a little bit, so I'm gonna, with a small brush, come in here and flip that out like that. And now let's see, this needs, I'm gonna smaller brush yet, take this black along the top, now this is going to sound tedious, and I'll probably go through and speed this up or edit out a lot of this, but I think it's important that you see some of this tedious work, because making a really good selection can be tedious. Now maybe if you run out on the internet, you'll be able to find somebody that will offer you a ViewMaster template, and maybe you won't. You got to do what you got to do. I prefer not to use other people's pictures if I can get away without it. Now I would purchase something like this, but I would not use something like this free. Many times stuff on the internet is not royalty free. It does have a copyright and it does belong to someone. There we go. I think we're pretty good on that. Let's zoom back. And I'm going to go here to the Refine Edge option. And I'm going to look at this on black. And let's see, zoom in. Boy, it's pretty nuzzy there. Not very good at all. So let's try a little smart radius here. Oh, beauteous. Smart radius, you don't want to go too much. It tends to get out of hand very quickly, and it's not one of those instantaneous adjustments. It will it takes a while for it to catch up. If you make an adjustment, you really have to give it a second, and then it'll catch up, and it's so frustrating. You want to move all that stuff at once. There we go, looking pretty good. Now let's look at it on white and see what that looks like. Not so good in there. I'm going to try a little contrast here. That didn't help. Let me try a little smooth. Nope, that didn't help. So let me try that smart radius just a little bit farther. Nope, that's too far. Alright, now I'm going to try Shift Edge, and I'm going to bring it in just a little bit. Well, let's see what looks when I go out. Not getting what I want. So I'll put that back at 0. And try Decontaminate Colors. And see if that does anything. Pull our smart radius back. Add a little smooth to this. Ah, there we go. We're looking good. Alright, I'm going to say that that looks pretty good. I'm going to say OK. And now we have a layer mask. And if I Command or Control click on that layer mask, I'll select all my reels. And then if I go Control or Command J, I can jump just the reels to the new layers. Now let me turn off all this other stuff. And so now we just have the reels all on their own. Fantastic. Now I am going to get the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to select this reel. And you see I missed one edge over here. I'm still holding my mouse down. I'll hold my space bar down, and then I can slide that over and then continue and get everything I need. And I am going to copy this. And let's see, this is Mother Goose Rhymes. And then I'm going to go here to File, New, and it asks what size I want it. And because I've made a copy selection, this size is the size of whatever I copied. Notice it says Preset Clipboard. I'll say OK, and then I'll paste. And then I'll just throw this background layer away. And I'll say Save As, and I said what this was, Mother Goose Rhymes. And I'll save it in the folder that I've got everything else in. Great. But you know, if I think about it, I haven't got all the background out of the way. So let's see if we can go ahead and finish selecting out that background. So we'll zoom in again. And I, for this, am going to use the polygonal lasso tool, which is a click, let up type of a thing. And it always goes back to the beginning before I'm quite ready. It thought it heard a double click. So I'm going to hold my plus key down and see if I can't add to that. Okay. Now I'm going to look and see at the refine edge. Let's cancel that. I'm going to be really dramatic. I'm going to hit the delete or the backspace key. And then I'm going to deselect, Command or Control D. And does that need a little work? Well, maybe so. And I'll just grab my eraser tool by tapping the E. I want a hard edge brush, but not 100% hard edge, so I'll run it back to about 80. Make my brush smaller with the left bracket key. I'm going to tap in the corner, hold my shift key down, tap in the next corner, hold my shift key down, tap, shift tap, shift tap. And this may be the way to do it. We'll do the same thing here. Tap, shift tap, shift tap, shift tap, shift tap, and yes, this is very destructive. But you notice that I have all these other good things in another file. Well, let's see. I guess this is a little, whoa. Now this is when you have your shift key down, you don't let it up, you get a mess. So I Control or Command Z to undo that, and then start with a tap, shift tap, Shift tap, shift tap, shift tap, then I let up on my shift key and just get rid of this stuff in the middle. And if you go too far, there's always the good old undo, which is probably the first shortcut you should learn. Command or Control Z. Now you can see that these have a ragged, much used look, which is kind of nice. I mean, ViewMasters are vintage, and why shouldn't anything that we do with ViewMasters look vintage? I love this kind of greenish color where it's rubbed against the reel or the viewer. I just think there's a lot of neat stuff going on here. Could you clean this up and make it brand new? Sure, you could even draw one from scratch if you wanted to. And that's what I thought about doing originally, was just drawing one of these from scratch. And then I remembered that not too long ago my mother sent me home with a viewer and several reels. She split it up between me and my stepbrother, so we both got to take home a viewer and some reels, and thought we were really lucky. Now, this center part, circles are really hard to do with a brush. And sometimes, even if we grab the circular or elliptical marquee tool, we have a little bit of trouble, but let's try that. I'm going to start right in the center. I'm going to hold down my shift key to constrain it to a circle shape, and I'm going to hold down my option key so I can draw from the center. And I can move this around a little bit after I make the selection. Boy, I just don't know. I'm not liking that very well. So I'm going to deselect, and get my pen tool over here. Make sure it's on path, and I'm going to start at the top, come around here to about 3 o'clock, and then I'm going to click and drag out this tail here. And you see I get a nice smooth arc here. So now I go down to 6 o'clock and click and drag, and I don't even have to drag. It made its own nice smooth arc. So go up to 9 o'clock. This one I'll need to be dragged. And you see as you move in and out, you can control the curve, and up and down also controls it. Now one more click here. We're going to have to make a little drag. There we go. Now I can right click inside the circle and make the selection without I'm not sure that looks any better, but let's hit delete and see what happens. Well, let's grab our little eraser tool. And see if we can't just clean up that edge just a little bit. I wonder, what size is this image? Image size? Well, it is 300 pixels per inch, but this hole isn't very big. Alrighty, so let us save that. Now, probably another thing you're going to want to do is get rid of these black places. Now, before I start that, I am going to make a new layer, and I can drag this down to the new layer icon and turn off the one below it. I'm going to get my quick selection tool, and I'm going to zoom in here and quick select around that edge. Looks pretty good. And when I'm having a little trouble here with a corner, left bracket to make that smaller, Option or Alt to get rid of it, and let's hit that delete key. Not as good as it might have been. Let's try the next one. I can always come back and clean up these edges later if I need to. But we're getting a pretty good selection here, so I'm, in the interest of time, just going to go ahead. And this is one of the reasons I made a duplicate layer to do this on. I hate to ever make a decision that's I can't fix. I can't go back and redo something a little bit. And by saving that layer below, I can always, if this is really, really bad, I can always say, well, this is so bad I'll have to throw it out. And I have that other layer to give me my original back. Now, something you might want to think about is if you're going to use your photos in here instead of Jack and the Beanstalk or Mother Goose, maybe you want to change the text on here. Find a similar, maybe a Helvetica text, and put your own captions in. Now, traditionally, on a ViewMaster, there's two slots with the same or similar image in them. They're shot from a slightly different point of view. That's what made them a stereo. So, let's see here. Bo Peep losing her sheep would be, would be in here and in here. And these two, of course, being directly across from each other, would have the same or slightly different images in it. So instead of having 14 different images in here, you might want to have 7 different images and spread them around to where they fit all of them. And you may want to change these titles to fit whatever picture you've put in them. Okay, we'll save this. And And I'm going to go and clean up all the rest of them, and then be back when I've got them all and show you how they might be able to be used in a composite. You have a good day now.